When people ask, what do you do? Answer them, whatever it takes. Welcome to IAS Point for the Hindu editorial analysis of July 18. Do like the video, hit the subscribers button and also give your opinion about the video. You can also watch this video at the upsconline.com. So coming to the first article, see this article is all about the Indo-China standoff, and I request you guys to please go through this article once, because this article clearly mentions the government stance with respect to this issue, which could be very much helpful in writing your mains answer writing. So please have a go through. And I have already explained the background of this issue in the previous video. I have given link in the description box. You can just have a check on it. So coming to the article now. See what happened is, the center has briefed the opposition about the ground situation and the strategies which it has taken with respect to this issue. Fine. So why the center did this? Because the monsoon session has started today, and in order to ensure the better productivity in the parliament, the center has briefed the opposition before 2 days so that there is no parliamentary chaos. And this article tries to say that these sort of incidents clearly signal the weightage of government views with respect to this issue. And it also tries to say that these actions could bring in all the party together into a same line, that is bipartisan. Fine. So while explaining all this, this article also tries to bring in the government views with respect to this issue. So this article mentions 3 points. The first view is that India-China troops are now at the tri-junction, that is at the Doklam Plateau, for the second consecutive month. Fine. And the second point is that India is holding its commitment to Bhutan. See, Doklam Plateau happens to be a territory of Bhutan, and it is not the territory of India. So, it is the commitment of India to the Bhutan in the year 2007 with respect to the Friendship Treaty, where they have enhanced their diplomatic ties. It is with response to this commitment, Indian troops is present in this region. And the third important point which the government made is that India is pursuing diplomatic talks with China. But Chinese demands that in order to pursue a diplomatic talk, India has to withdraw its troop. Becomes a non-acceptable demand for the Indian government. So these are the 3 points which the article mentions and which the government made with respect to this issue. That is the present scenario with respect to this issue. And this article tries to say that Indian response to this issue is very much mature, because India did not take the military back, and at the same time it is trying to bring in diplomatic talks with the other nation. So this happens to be a mature response with respect to this issue according to the article. And this article also tries to say that in the coming days, BRICS summit could be used, where in the sidelines they can discuss this issue, because the National Security Advisor will be present in the BRICS, and the forum could be used to discuss the issue. So coming to this article also tries to bring in a few analysis with respect to this issue, and this article tries to say that things needed to be done to resolve this issue because of China's hostility, that is unfriendly nature, and its aggressive nature with respect to Chinese media also bringing in very strong views about this issue. And one should not allow this to become an conflict, that is one should not allow this to become a big issue. So things need to be resolved fast. This article also tries to make one point that the dispute is not between India and China, but rather it is between Bhutan and China. So one needs to be clear with respect to this issue, and Indian troops are standing in the Bhutan territory. So there is no win or lose for India. It is all about the Bhutan interest with respect to this issue, and make sure that every step is considered with Bhutan. That is, India's actions against China should consider the views of Bhutan. So that is what this article tries to bring in. So that's it with respect to this article, guys. So coming to the next article, after globalization's promise. This article is a very interesting article. It tries to talks about the globalization of the past and the present. So coming to the article now. This article tries to mention a word which is called as hyperglobalization. See, hyperglobalization according to the article is something which is enhancement in the trade, and there is an expansion in the economy. So this is what the hyperglobalization means. And this article tries to say that the hyperglobalization was during 1990s to 2008. So 2008 was the year where the world saw the economic financial crisis. So this article tries to say that in the year 1990 the globalization was in its peak, and it literally ended in the year 2008. So that is one point with respect to this article. So this article tries to say is that every generation with respect to globalization thinks that their globalization is something unique, but which is not true, because every nation is associated with self-interest. So this article tries to say is that every globalization has an ending stage as well as a starting point. For instance, it tries to bring an globalization of the past. It says that during the year 1870s, a globalization started which lasted till the World War I. So this 50 years saw an enhancement of British goods in the world, as well as European markets were present all over the world. Europeans were present all over the world. So this article tries to say that the globalization of the past is far more better than the present. So this myth of generation that their globalization is unique is an misconception. So while saying all this, this article tries to mentions that the globalization will be boosting in the 25 years. Until then, India needs to have an market for the working class population. See, because after 25 years, Indian service sectors would enhance, because India is in a demographic dividend where there would be great employment opportunities, and if at all an hyper globalization of such kind occurs, then it would be of great benefit to India. But what the article tries to say is, until then, India needs to find a solution for the present working class. And this article also tries to brings in the role of technology with respect to the globalization, and tries to say that the globalization of the past, that is the globalization which I mentioned before from 1870s to the First World War. See, that globalization was enhanced because of the technological advancement. For instance, this article tries to bring in that there was an increase in telecommunications, and combustion engines were invented, and cheap transportation across the sea plus telegraph facilitated the advent of trade. So these sort of factors made a promising note for the trade to enhance, and the globalization occurred. So what the article tries to say is, nothing in the immediate future seems as an cause for the trade. That is, this article tries to say is that a globalization of such kind is not seen in the near future, because there is none a factor available to increase the trade. So while presenting the scenario with respect to India, this article tries to say that if at all India needs to stabilize its economy in the near future, then India needs to revisit its economic policy of 1991. That is the LPG policy, liberalization, privatization and globalization. So this article, what does it tries to say is, the thing which seen as a promise to the Indian investment or the Indian trade, that is the service sector, is in a diminishing phase now, and there is a sense of insecurity with respect to this sector. So what the article tries to say is, India need to revisit this sector. And this article also tries to say is that it was with the prominence of the service sector that India had skipped the stage of the manufacturing sector. More emphasis on the manufacturing sector was not given. And as a remedy for this, this article tries to say is that India should now look into the manufacturing sector. That is, it should look into the domestic market for its demand, because the service sector demand is diminishing all over the world, and in order to sustain the economy, one has to look into the private investment, and this private investment is not possible with respect to the present scenario in the world. So India needs to go for domestic investment. That is, it has to increase its demand in the domestic market. And this article also tries to bring in the private investment. It says that it is with respect to the RBI inflationary policy that the private investment will be determined, and RBI should work on to increase the private investment, and also should seek to ensure inflation control. So while saying all these facts, this article tries to brings in the emphasis on the public investment. It says that whatever may the scenario, the public investment should be increased, and more emphasis should be given to the infrastructure, and also tries to brings in a few examples with respect to the roads and bridges. See, it is not only the physical infrastructure which the article talks about, it is also the boost in the manufacturing sector. It is even the capital infrastructure which the article is talking about. So while saying all these facts, the article tries to say that there is a need for investing in the public infrastructure to increase the public demand, because of the deteriorating globalization. And this article tries to emphasize that instead of looking for the trading partners, one need to expand its physical infrastructure to boost public investment, which would increase the demand and could sustain the economy. So that's it with this article, guys. Thank you.